Hey everybody, welcome back to Tyranny. Tobias here is doing well. We have an unspent talent point, and after reading through the comments, I tend to agree that we should go into lore. And the reason is, as was articulated by somebody in the comments, was that the fact that we're going to be able to unlock more options earlier on and keep leveling up our lore skill could be very beneficial in the long run. So we're going to go ahead and do this under magic. So we'll grant a bonus to the lore skill and lock that in. I've also gone ahead and turned off the option for showing reputation, so we no longer see the direct impact of our conversation choices. Be that as it may, we're in this new area where the disfavored camp is, and I believe we're looking for Graven Ashe. Let's see. Car's edict must be personally delivered to the Archons. Find them in the disfavored camp. So let's go. Who are these people and what are they doing? Take what you can carry, but leave your cart. Otherwise, we seize you and your wares. This guy's getting held up. Crescent Runner saying, "Hail, Fatebinder." The disfavored scout nods at your approach. "Camp's on up ahead. Don't mind us. Just clearing out the rabble." And this is the guy's cart, I guess. "I still don't understand what I've done to offend. I respect that there are now disfavored lands, and I'm happy to give the Legion a proper toll, but she's going on about trading rights. What nonsense is that? I'm not allowed to trade one thing for another. It's not like I'm selling weapons to angry peasants or anything of that sort." To be clear, you're on disfavored land. These warriors have every right to kill you. You should be more thankful they're even listening to you speak. "But I'm only here peddling my wares. I mean no harm." The merchant takes a step back, his eyes scanning the soldiers for signs of movement. "And if you think I'm a threat to the disfavored camp, then you've seriously overestimated me. Please, how do I make this right? From the sounds of it, I feel like I'm about to be robbed." "You're not the only one. I'm being robbed of patience as we speak. We should move on, Fatebinder. Petty disputes are beneath us both." "Robbed? No, you fool. You're being granted life after trespassing on our lands. All for the simple price of what's in your cart. Not our fault you don't have your permits in order. I don't write the rules, I just ruthlessly enforce them." "Please, can you do something?" "Let me see your trade permits." "My God, why'd we get involved?" He hasn't got one. Therein lies the problem. A trade permit? I mean, whom would I speak for such a thing?" "Not us, and not our problem. Maybe march your butt to Bastard City and plead your case before Tunon. But we'll lighten your burden and relieve you of your wares first. That should make the long trek a bit more bearable." Listen, anything to be argued before Tunon can be argued before me. "What's there to discuss? We should kill this mongrel and..." The warrior pauses, placing her hand in front of her mouth. "If the Fatebinder wishes to weigh in on the matter, courtesy demands we listen." The soldier clears her throat, looking at you expectantly. "This is a disfavored matter, but I know the agents of the court do so love to throw their judgments around." "Well, you could rob me now and have my supplies today." The merchant grabs a flask from his cart. "Or you can leave me alive and have fermented honey all year long. I even know a few family recipes for painkillers and healing draughts. Certainly any army will need those." He uncorks a small ceramic vial, and the aroma of cloves and lanolin assaults your nose. Oh, we could go with lore here right away. Hunter requirement. "Family recipe for wound paste smells like the Scarlet Fury's own concoction. Where'd you steal this?" Oh. Oh, this is not shaping up for Sterling. What a coincidence. Your family recipe for wound paste smells just like the Scarlet Fury's own concoction. Where'd you steal this? I don't know what you're getting at. I'll pick him up. I'll handle this myself. How stupid do you think I am? Slow down. I'll tell you everything. Just don't hurt me. I found most everything out in the forests of the valley. I'll keep my head low when I heard the sounds of combat. Then I take a look, and I grab whatever wasn't claimed by the first victors. So he is just looting battlefields. So then you stole from the disfavored dead. How else did you get your hands on that iron? The scout points to the merchant's cart. You would come here and sell us our own armaments? If anything has an owner, I will return it, but this iron would have turned to rust if left in the mud of the battlefield. The disfavored are few in number. Is that not right? You need a man like me to gather up supplies, and that would otherwise go to waste. We could just banish him from the area. We could kill him outright. Probably grants favor with both of these groups, but... The disfavored is gonna tolerate your presence, okay? But you're gonna pay them back handsomely for this. You are kind of... I can see both sides. But the fact that you're here now trying to sell this back is a bit of a problem. Even if he's like, oh, I'm just passing by, it's, you know, he is trying to sell it back. We will? The disfavored soldier clears her throat with a cough before repeating herself in a more upbeat manner. We will! It sickens me to make exceptions for this vulture. I realize she's a female and I'm doing the super deep voice, but let's just get past that. It sickens me to make exceptions for this vulture, but if you'll supply the disfavored without profit, perhaps this indiscretion is for the best. It's not like our larders are overflowing. A work slave to scrounge provisions would be an asset. Oh, thank you for interceding on my behalf. I know my life will now depend on showing the disfavored due gratitude for suffering my presence. If I must grovel a bit to earn my daily grain, so be it. So he's basically paying a royalty now. Which is fine by me. Subterfuge 39 to get into this. Our subterfuge is not. It's 36. So that's not going to work for us. Let's see what he happens to be selling. Slow down a moment. I know we're both eager to watch the Archons bicker over tactics like a pair of magpies, but I need to ask you something first. What do you need, Verse? The voices of Nerat told me that you've come as a mediator. Considering the source, well, I can't help but feel I'm only hearing half the story, so let's have it out. What's so special about you? Did the voices of Nerat ask you to spy on me? At a loss for words, Verse regards you with a momentary unease. Well, are you even surprised? He's the Archon of Secrets. Knowing in advance is his business, so is snatching up any advantage over Graven Ashe. These two compete like a couple of new recruits for a spot around the fire. It's nothing nefarious, the voice is just curious about why you're here. If you wanted to know more, you wouldn't be able to suss it out that easily. He would have sent one of his scarier peons in my stead. What else has the voices of Nerat told you? Only that I could find you in Edgering Ruins. Truthfully, I could have picked you out of a crowd. You're the only one of us who hasn't spent the last few months bathing in the stink of the Mittani River. Okay. And why so suspicious? It's just a feeling I got. When the Archons are together, the air gets as taut as a bowstring. I can't help but think that no amount of compromise will get them seeing eye to eye. Why do you think the Archons are at odds? Look, I've been with the Scarlet Chorus since the early days of the Conquest, so I can say it's been building for a few years now. There's an energy about these two, like a pair of storms moving to collide. I heard tell that Graven Ashe and the voices of Nerat shared some bad blood in the Northern Empire, but I don't know any of the particulars. By my authority, the Archons will fall in line. That sounds like exactly the attitude to set this campaign in the right direction. I don't envy you the task of getting them to cooperate, which sounds about as easy as teaching a tornado to heal. At least you sound like you know what you're doing. Look, Verse, I'm here to deliver an edict from Kairos. That makes crazy kind of sense. Considering how long the siege has taxed the armies, I can understand why Kairos would send you with an edict to speed things along. Have you read it? Like, do you know what it says? I do. I kind of trust her. Like, she's been honest about spy, like, being sent as a spy, quote unquote. Look, the Archons have to claim Ascension Hall by Kairos' Day of Swords, or we all perish. What's the Day of Swords? The 26th of every month, or span, is Kairos' day. It is a day of holiday and a rest for all within the Overlord's empire. Each Kairos' day is the last day of its span and is referred to by the span's name. Kairos' Day of Swords, therefore, is the 26th day of the span of swords. Ah, okay. Last day of its span. So the last day of each month or span, it's the 26th day, so they don't have like a traditional calendar. So if it's like the day of the mace, I don't know, then the last day would be the 26th day, and that would be Kairos' Day of the Mace kind of thing. Or day, yeah. An Ascension Hall is the traditional throne room of the Queens of Apex. The throne stands directly beneath the mountain spire in the center of the citadel in the Valley of Vendrian's Well. One more thing for the Archons to fight over. Well, thanks for cluing me in. If Kairos sends any lightning our way, just tell me when to duck. Alright, we gotta go. Hey, don't let me hold you back. I'm sure whatever you're here to do is important enough, and they don't need me stepping in your path. The war tent is just past the center of the camp. One last thing, be careful around these disfavor types. They take their work seriously, and most have suffered too many blows to the head. Okay.
Will do.
Wood used for these parapets is pristine and finely cut. These walls have yet to see battle. Who do we have here? Step closer and present yourself. Well, look at you. Our great gatecrasher from the court is still in one piece. Welcome to this favored camp. Always happy to have an honored ally pay us a visit. So this is a conquest decision. The Gates of Judgement is the name given to the mountain path separating the tiers from the Northern Empire. The treacherous screes, slopes, and deadly rock slides create a nigh impassable barrier responsible for centuries of peace between the two regions. In 428, Kairos' armies began the conquest of the tiers by smashing through the Gates of Judgement, and as a young Fatebinder tasked with seeing war, you were part of this first glorious assault. Having joined with a disfavored phalanx, you fought along the mountain slopes, proving your worth alongside the ironclad soldiers. Though you were not considered a member of the Insular Legion, those who fought with you fondly consider you one of the Gatecrashers, a veteran that can boast having seen the war from day one. That's so cool. I'm sorry, but with your helmet, it's hard to tell a face. No reason for you to remember me. I was 2 files over, 1 rank behind. The Longbeards of the Legion were mad at having to, in their words, babysit Tunon's novice. But you fought well. Not as well as us, but certainly better than those dumb pukes in the chorus. Go on in. The Archons are expecting you. You'll find them in the war tent, center of the camp. Okay. Addendum added, the Conqueror's Will. Just want to see if there's anything alongside the outskirts here. Looks like we can go along the backside. What's this addendum added? The 2 Archons... Oh, okay, so it just gives an update. So we're actually going to meet with both. So it looks like a little bit of a training area. Perhaps some sales going on here. Can we just freely grab from this if we want to? Yeah, some stone shield gloves. Absolutely. Much better than what we have, too. Benefits and everything. Let's go ahead and throw these on. And for her, how do these measure up? Less recovery, less DPS, plus 1% deflection. I think that we'll leave it how it is. Here's Subterfuge, which we can actually check. And can we just do this in front of people?
So hard.
Looks like it. Blood Moss, plus 50 defense against bleeding attacks, immunity to bleeding. And Scroll, lesser sigil of strength accent. So we can put these in quick slots. So I think these scrolls are single use. Slightly increases the strength of a spell. I'll have to experiment with that. I want to find their camp. Meager portion of game simmers in a large copper pot. Fragrant spices attempt to mask a potent smell. I bet you this is it here. We can certainly talk to others in the area, but let's go talk to the Archons. Oh, cool. Yesterday you chided me for wishing to wait. Now you suggest an even longer delay. Perhaps the voices in your skull ought to come to consensus if you wish to be taken seriously. Let's intervene here.
That's 4 reports of avalanches in the
Cool.
mountains now. The Tearsmen can barely count past 9. They have neither the capacity nor the cause to close off the mountain passes. Either way, that leaves the 2nd and 4th cohort trapped outside the valley.
4 reports of avalanches in the mountains. The Tearsman can barely count past 9. The Archon of War pounds the staff on the ground to punctuate his words. A large and imposing man to begin with, his profile is made larger still by his hulking suit of armor that hums with mystic energy.
Or it's the work of your perfidious Earthshakers. Only a fool would not suspect a traitorous Archon of poisoning the mind of his students with sedition. We would have killed the Earthshakers Guild for their master's treachery, but I'm sure you have some perfectly valid reason for allowing them to live as your pawns.
This is exactly what I thought he would sound like. The Archon of Secrets passes a scepter between his hands as he speaks, twirling the rod in hypnotic circles. You hear voices in your head. Well, hello there, Fatebinder. We'll be with you in just a moment. What? And he said, like, get the 2 voices in your head on the same page or something? Emerald luminescence seeps from the seams of the Archon's ragged red robes. The glow is most noticeable where his neck ought to be. His mask seems to float and spin, never pivoting or bending naturally.
Hey, watch yourself. When these 2 get going, you don't want to get between them.
Okay, I'm not just gonna jump in, I'll just clear my throat and see if they take notice.
I always know you've run out of things to say when you resort to mocking my vassals. If we are to speak of treachery, why is it that my scouts see the Scarlet Chorus warriors defecting back to the Vendrian Guard? Your fearsome reputation has gone flaccid, for it seems you cannot control your soldiers, or perhaps you simply choose not to.
And you see the differences in their leadership styles, right? Now this guy pipes up, the Iron Marshal Irenaeus. My lords, the Fatebinder has arrived. The disfavored commander raises her voice, trying with little success to speak over the Archons. Perhaps we could table this discussion and let our guests speak?
Speaking of strategic failures, who was it that insisted the valley would need only a token garrison? For some strange reason, we can't seem to recall which balding halfwit grossly underestimated the enemy. Thoughts?
I wonder who he's talking about. The Archon of Secrets twirls his scepter in a twisting loop. Can you hear us, Fatebinder? Cough if we have your attention. Oh, cool! His leather-wrapped hands flipping the heavy rod with an effortless flow. Cough audibly. Yeah, let's do it.
And I thought you had left agents within these Tearsmen when they surrendered. Either you failed to see this coming, or you knew and let it happen. Incompetent or in cahoots, either way, this mess has your filthy stink all over it.
The Archon of War lurches forward, resting his weight on his war maul as blue luminescence crackles around his armor.
We look forward to seeing you explain to Tunon why the Archon of War could not close the vice on this trivial little insurgency. When we are crowned the ruler of the Tears, we shall have this place renamed to Ashe's Folly in your honor.
So now he's saying, good, good, now pay attention, you might miss something. Catching it as it descends back down. Let's just listen in.
If I could trust the information I get from you and your conscripted mouth breathers, perhaps I'd order my cohorts around a bit more aggressively. But last time I trusted your all-clear report, my troops failed to come home.
Oh, Ashe, old boy. If you're going to have a little sob every time one of your nieces or nephews dies to the Tearsmen, perhaps we should have Siren sing you some calming lullabies to help you cope with your grief.
Okay, so that's how it's pronounced, is Siren. Siren is the Archon of Song, the youngest Archon sent to conquer the Tears. Young and inexperienced, Siren is sworn to the voices of Nerat, who uses her powers of charm and manipulation to swell the ranks of the Scarlet Chorus with quote-unquote volunteers. Okay, so now you hear the voices in your head. Take care that you don't learn too much, Fatebinder. An excess of knowledge, of curiosity even, can earn unwanted attention. Iron Marshal steps in. Hold your tongue! I'll not have you denigrate the honor of our fallen brethren. The commander's hand moves to the hilt of her blade, though the weapon stays sheathed. I'd be doing us all a favor if I cracked open that excuse for a head. And then somebody from the Scarlet Chorus. They bicker like children, do they not? The fifth eye grating tenor pierces the tension in the tent, and all eyes land on the Crimson Spear. Why, I meant only to say welcome. Welcome to our guest, the Fatebinder. The armor retainer bows with rust inelegance, then rises to a salute. And not a moment too soon. Governor Tobias Batch. I love that. Long have we been honored by your iron. Now we are honored by your presence. I must apologize for my lord's tempers run high as of late. I apologize for the sudden entrance, folks. I traveled long to be here.
Welcome, Firestarter. We have been eagerly anticipating your arrival. Perchance you bring another of Kairos' edicts to savage the enemy?
You're not wrong. Why Firestarter? Oh, in 430, the final year of the conquest of the Tears, the sages of the Vellum Citadel were expected to surrender without a fight. When the sages violently defended themselves in a prolonged siege, Kairos unleashed an edict of fire, reducing the library fortress to smoldering ruins. So we had to make that decision. You were given the honor of proclaiming this edict of fire, and to those present, you were often known as the Firestarter. Even though you were merely reading Kairos' words, not actually casting the edict, you're still viewed with awe and wonder for your role in the matter.
My soldiers tell me you helped Commander Drotus on your way through Edring.
We did.
You honor the court with your selfless cooperation, for that is the sort of camaraderie that Kairos demands of us all.
That was the guy who was going to be killed. On the last of his words, the Archon of War glares at the voices of Nerat, furrowing his brow as he utters the words, camaraderie. I come bearing an edict of Kairos.
It seemed only yesterday you were proving your worth in battle, assisting my warriors in the siege of the bastard city. Now Kairos has chosen you for a second time to proclaim an edict. Tell us, good Fatebinder, what sort of punishment does the Overlord have in store for the Oathbreakers?
Okay, so he's saying it seems only yesterday proving your worth in battle. The site on Tunon's court in the Battle Tiers was taken in the first year of the conquest, in concerted effort between the Disfavored and the Scarlet Chorus, the first and last battle wherein the two armies acted in relative harmony. When it came time to strike at the city, you accompanied the Disfavored into battle, and though the Legion is normally loath to accept guests in its ranks, you distinguished yourself and won the respect of many in the Legion. So we kind of have this favor with him already. What sort of punishment does the Overlord have in store? Loyal servants must hold Ascension Hall by Kairos' Day of Swords, or all in the valley shall perish. Seems you need some encouragement to work together, and the lives of everyone in the valley unless it's claimed. In honor of your incompetence and disarray, the edict will continue every living thing in the valley unless Ascension Hall. We don't need to piss them both off. We got to try and get them rallied together. The Overlord's loyal servants must hold Ascension Hall by Kairos' Day of Swords, or all in the valley shall perish. The earth sways with each word you utter, the air thickening with warmth as you pronounce the tersely phrased commandment. It's every syllable drafted by the hand of Kairos. With the edict proclaimed, your pulse quickens, and the muscles in your legs, worn from a long trip down the mountains, feel renewed, the tired limbs now nearly buoyant with vigor.
The Overlord means to compel us into action. No doubt the avalanches in the mountains are part of this ultimatum. We must conquer the Oathbreakers or die in failure. There is no room for error, and no other way out of this valley alive.
Good, we're on the same page, Graven
We'll
Ashe.
need to advance across the Matani. We lose everything if we stand still. And we move to backup Plan Green. The Earthshakers didn't make it over the mountain in time. So we do this the hard way. Over the walls instead of through.
The Archon of War taps a finger against his temple. A low rumble escapes from under his beard.
So you found your backbone at last! Oh, we were worried past humiliations would make you soft, timid. That was a record for you, right? A baker's dozen lost in one sortie. If you had waited for the chorus reinforcements, maybe we'd have eyes and ears on the matter.
So again, he's trying to tell us something. You hear the voices in your head. Watch him squirm. So many tears over replaceable, expendable, useless soldiers. I miss the old Archon of War. You'd never see blood echo in a blubbering mess over a few dead killers. He'd use the knuckle bones of his best disciples for jewelry, and even made a breastplate out of his dead brother's ribcage. Because that's how a real man deals with grief. Yes, that's true. Sure. They don't seem to get it. And we could kind of call them out on something if we want. They call you the Archon of Secrets, but you certainly don't seem to know anything remotely useful.
I second the Fatebinder. Thought you had the memories of one of those Oathbreakers rattling about that bronze gourd of yours. Would Kairos' mighty spy master please enlighten this gathering of allies with some scrap of strategic insight?
The Archon of Secrets turns his head to the side until the face of his mask has turned around and a new facet of the mask presents itself as facing forward. When the next Archon speaks, the trembling voice of a younger man can be heard.
Our river was to be the
Whoa.
bulwark, but with the Tidecasters slain, what hope remains? It's so cold in here. Help me, please.
The Archon turns his head far to the side until the previous facet of his mask now looks forward. The use of the term Our River suggests this is the voice of the late Matani Genev, ranking member of the Vendrian Guard. The wealthy House Matani also owned much of the realm of Apex before the coming of Kairos, and the major river in the valley bears the Matani name. Whoa.
Our sources tell us the Oathbreakers had some sort of magical trick in store. But this knowledge is tinged with fear, trepidation. If we make a move for the Matani, we suspect the Oathbreakers will mount a counterattack that is equal parts valiant and futile.
Okay, but that voice, who was that?
That was Matani Yanev,
Yep.
former noble of Apex and one of the leaders of the Vendrian Guard. Back when they were half-respectable enemies that knew how to lose with dignity. When the Guard first surrendered, Yanev presented himself to us. What he knew, we now know.
Okay, so that previous little insult I threw, maybe a bit early on that, because it appears he does know a few things. Absolutely. So we could say we expect the disfavored to be on the march at once. I'll have your horde ready to march without haste, or with all haste. We need them both to do this. Our lives hang in the balance because you two bicker like children. Now go, just solve the problem you've started. My lord Barrack and his band have been drilled into the Echo Call assault plan. The Crescent Runners should be briefing him as we speak regarding the latest enemy movements along the river. I'll dispatch him at once. The Iron Marshal salutes, clapping her gauntlet to her breastplate. Barrack, though you know him only by name, Barrack is a commander of the Stone Shields and well regarded by the disfavored High Command. And I will ensure the chorus stands ready to march. If the disfavored can take the river, the chorus has the manpower to secure the outer ring of the valley.
Our soldiers clamor for battle, and at last we shall have it. Verse, we command you to continue guarding the Fatebinder. Tunon's chosen is our honored guest, and must be shown our finest hospitality.
That's more like it.
I won't let you down, boss. He'll get through the campaign and win peace, as long as he doesn't do anything too stupid.
No promises. The Archon twists his scepter one last time. Suit yourself, Fatebinder. The more you ignore us. Oh! Then taps the fifth eye on his shoulder, and the two depart. That is so cool. I really hope we get to spend more time with these guys.
Finally, the fool and his puppet are gone. Perhaps now I can hear myself think. Rarely do I question Kairos' judgment, but I will never understand why the voices of Nerat is given such authority. I shudder to think what will become of us all should Tunon favor him in the end. Though the edict threatens the Scarlet Chorus just as it threatens us, I cannot shake the feeling that our allies will work against us.
It's interesting how he said he's going to favor him in the end. It's like this has quite clearly become a competition between them to get more recognition from Tunon.
You've shown your worth in war.
And
And your
Kairos.
name has been known to the Legion since the very beginning of this long conquest. So I'd ask that you join us this one last time to help us wrap up this last objective. If you wish to be counted amongst the glorious, speak with the Iron Marshal. She will direct the order of battle until we are ready for the final push into the Citadel.
Yeah, that actually could work. I'm short a few scouts, short a few soldiers, short a few everything. I'm sure my brethren would be grateful for the assistance of a skilled soldier. And what of the Scarlet Chorus? How are they going to be helping us?
I ask myself that question often. While we take the river crossing, the Scarlet Chorus should be using their sizable presence to remove the Oathbreaker patrols lurking in the Outer Valley.
Look at his position right now. He's like, oh, fuck my life. The Oathbreakers have mentioned a sizable force outside the Citadel. We need the Chorus's manpower to scour the region, otherwise the Oathbreakers will attack at our heels once we cross the Mutani. Yeah, well, we're gonna help. The Iron Marshal salutes Graven Ashe and turns to leave the tent. I'll be at the training grounds, readying the soldiers. Find me there when you're ready. Okay. She pauses, clearing her throat. And though I am loath to mention it, the Chorus can likely use your assistance. They certainly won't secure the Outer Valley on their own. Fifth Eye will be somewhere in that rat's nest they call a camp due east. Seek him out if you must. Okay, so they can use our... You can't help both people at the same time, I don't think. Unless we do the Outer Valley first and then go in with the disfavored. But I don't know if that's the thing or if it's simultaneous. Okay, now that you have delivered word of Kairos' edict to the armies, the time remaining until Kairos' Day of Swords appears next to the current date on the navigation bar. The terms of Kairos' edict must be met by this date, or everyone in Vendrian's Well will die. Awesome. So that's up here. 8 days. We're on a timer now. We are on a timer. So both are primary. The Battle of Echo Calls. So speak with Iron Marshal Arrhenius to discuss how you should approach the battle. And then we would go and speak to Fifth Eye at the Scarlet Chorus camp and see what we can do to assist with taking the Outer Valley. You'll need to help them deal with rebel force in the area before Kairos' armies may safely march. So I guess we have to do both. The crossing must be taken, and we have to do... Okay, so we have to do both, and they're not going to happen simultaneously, it looks like. What do we have here? A broken skull mask. An iron skull mask, still mostly intact after separating from a disfavored helmet. The broken mask can be sold to a merchant as spare parts.
It's all in the reflexes.
Hello. Take the garnet. Guess we'll take it in hers. We could be storing... We should probably just store everything in the party stash, but... let's check out these boots here. So she can switch into the heavy bronze greaves if we want. More armor, slightly less crush armor, slightly less fire armor, little bit of added recovery, but I'd say generally probably a bit better. And the hoarding begins. The battle report from Echo Call Crossing blames the failure of the assault on the village of the Scarlet Chorus, apparently. Their scouts failed to report critical intelligence about the enemy composition. The Archons of the War lets out a long sigh as he surveys the map and models displayed about his death. He glances over his shoulder, making brief eye contact with you, furrows his brow, and turns back after his contemplation. When I received the missive that said the Firestarter was coming to the well, I thought, at last, we'll torch these fucking swine. But no, I was foolish to count on such things. Can we speak for a moment? I do not have much patience left for words, but I will not turn away an honored friend. You have been our trusted ally in the court since the early days of the conquest. Least I can do is spare you a moment of my time. Okay, so we can ask him about all of this if we want. Your distrust of the voices of Nerat is plain as day. How did this begin? Our rivalry is an old one. The voices of Nerat served Kairos before I did, and I believe he hates me for being roughly the same status in the eyes of the Overlord, despite being the younger Archon selected to lead an army through the tiers. This war seems to have brought out the worst in us. We've disagreed on strategy at every turn. Yeah, but if I have my history right, you used to actually fight against Nerat, no? Well, that is true, and there was a time before I was the Archon of War, a time when I took arms against the Overlord. At the time, the Voices of Nerat was among those invading the lands I called home. So too was Blood Echo, the previous Archon of War. My warriors and I ambushed and killed the old Archon of War, but the larger campaign was lost and we had to surrender. When Kairos awarded me the honor of being the next Archon of War, Voices of Nerat wanted me for his slave pens or some equally terrible fate. So yes, he and I have a long history, and that's all I wish to speak of it. Okay. Can you tell me, like, why is it so tough to beat these Earthshakers? Like, this seems more difficult than it should be. Graven Ashe favor 1. The Archon lets out a long sigh, glaring at you with furrowed brow. It's not for lack of trying. Earlier in the year, when the chorus was still gathering to the valley, I launched a raiding party to head straight to the Citadel. They never made it past the Mittani River. With no disfavored survivors and no chorus scouts with eyes on the situation, I know very little of what occurred, only that they died quickly. So there's something happening there that these guys don't even know about. That left me short-handed and in need of more troops, and they've been slowly trickling in from everywhere. And I guess I've been guilty of waiting for my numbers to be overwhelming instead of merely enough. What can you tell me of Cairn, the late Archon of Stone? I should have known sooner his heart strayed from Kairos. I needed to split our forces, send him to Azure while I tackled Stalwart, but that was a mistake. Without me looming near, he must have felt free to live out his traitorous dreams. So, what has become of Cairn's disciples, the Earthshakers? Cairn's chief disciple, Radix, now speaks for the guild. It is true that my warriors are a bit apprehensive about our magical allies. Many suspect Cairn's treachery was taught to them, but I have vetted the guild, pruned whom I don't trust, kept those I can. Cairn, as tall as the hills, Cairn is the Archon of Stone, master of the earth and soil, destroyer of mountains and cities. He's the reluctant leader of the Earthshaker Guild, though he is less their teacher and more their object of study. The massive Archon is sworn to Graven Ashe and provides arcane support to the disfavored war effort. Why do you think he turned against Kairos? He only served because death was the alternative. He did not admire the unity and progress that Kairos brings. While I suspect chorus agents may have whispered treachery in Cairn's ear, I think it wholly possible Cairn fell into disloyalty by his own volition. We're going to ask about his small army. This conquest has spread us thin. Every league we conquered must be held. I issued the call to assembly, but most of the cohorts remain trapped across the mountains. No bother. Won't be the first time I've had to do much with little. And what about the warriors left to garrison this region years ago? I too have questions about that. He inhales sharply, his posture becoming defensive. His cold blue eyes stare at you with an unblinking intensity. I have reason to believe that when the garrison was taken, the disfavored were slain not by the Oathbreakers. And though I know it in my bones, I cannot prove the Voices of Nerat is at fault. So he thinks when the garrison was taken that Scarlet Chorus slayed them. Huh. That's a very... I'm not gonna... Why do you believe this? What is your reason? It's well known that I can protect my soldiers from harm, even if they are beyond my sight. What is less known is that I sense every cut, every kill, every illness. No harm to my soldiers escapes my notice. Oh. Of the warriors posted at the Vendrian's Well Citadel, only 2 were slain in the uprising, but a few others died later, and horrible, painful magic was involved. My son was one of those who died under such unusual circumstances. For a second he trembles, his eyes widening with a faraway stare. The Tearsmen, they have customs against killing prisoners. I'd expect your warriors to be slain in the heat of battle, but not after. But do they? I suppose I'm guilty of paying little heed to what these hillfolk believe. This makes it all the more troubling they died when they did. I need to consider what you've told me. Let us speak of something else. That's all I've got. For the glory of Kairos. Taps the haft of his maul to the ground for emphasis, then turns back to his maps. Okay, let's leave the tent. And let's actually take a break here. When we come back, we will probably check out the town quickly. And then we will look to see what's going on here. I know down by this like training ground is where we're going to find Iron Marshal. And then it sounds like they've got the ongoing Operation Trip Nettle, which hasn't been proven successful. Speak with Fifth Eye at the Scarlet Chorus camp. See what you can do to assist. I think this is out to the east, they were saying. I don't know if it's in this same area or not, but should be interesting. I'm just looking at the... What is this? Toggle loot indicators. Oh, okay. Enemy indicators. Exits. Points of interest. And key characters. Oh, cool. Okay, that's really helpful. All right, well, I'm gonna take a break here, guys. If you have any thoughts, let me know. But I'm really digging the story so far. This is really cool. And I think I have a decent grasp on the larger kind of political intrigue that's going on as well. So I'm excited to see where this goes. I really am. I'm enjoying it a lot. If you guys have any feedback on how to speed things up, slow things down, let me know. But this is going to be a slow burn at the start. I keep saying it, but we're really setting up all of the backstory that's required. So I imagine that once we go and talk to these individuals, that's when like a battle is going to happen and we're going to be pretty heavily involved. So we are in a timer now, which means we can't really dilly-dally too much. We've got 8 days to get this place secured. Otherwise, everybody dies. So wish me luck. Hail to Kairos. Goodbye.
Now Kairos' final conquest has come to our corner of the world. And 2 of the Overlord's armies compete for the honor of taking our lands. The elite disfavored, and the teeming horde of the Scarlet Chorus. The voices of Nerat.